Hi there, and welcome to Healthy Sexuality. Today, I want to share something deeply personal and transformative, my 20-year journey of battling and eventually overcoming sex addiction. It's not an easy story to tell, but I believe it can help someone out there feel less alone. If you've ever struggled with feelings of shame, insecurity, or a compulsion that feels bigger than you, stick around. This is for you. By sharing this story, I'm making myself vulnerable. But vulnerability is where true healing begins. Throughout my journey, I've learned that shame thrives in silence, and the first step toward recovery is breaking that silence. So today, I'm choosing to be completely honest about my struggles, my failures, and ultimately, my path to recovery. Before we dive in, let me say this. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss our latest updates. Your support means the world to us. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and type yes in the comments below. Building this community of understanding and support is crucial for all of us on our healing journeys. Let's get started. My early life, where it all began. I grew up in a single-parent household, in a small apartment where uncertainty seemed to linger in every corner. My mom, Karen, did her best to provide for us, working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. But my dad's struggle with schizophrenia meant he was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, his presence in my life as unpredictable as the weather. That instability left a deep void, a constant ache that I couldn't name as a child. According to studies, childhood trauma and neglect are significant predictors of future addiction. National Institute on Drug Abuse 2020. Every time my dad left for another hospital stay, I internalized it as abandonment. Every time he couldn't attend a school event because of his condition, I felt somehow responsible. This pattern of emotional uncertainty created a foundation of anxiety and self-doubt that would follow me for years to come. By the time I was 12, I had lost my virginity, far too young to understand the emotional complexity of such an experience. I discovered that my sexuality gave me a sense of control and power I couldn't find elsewhere. In those moments of physical connection, the chaos of my home life seemed to fade away. Unfortunately, this early sexualization set me on a destructive path, like a ship steering toward treacherous waters. The shame, coupled with relentless bullying at school, left me craving validation wherever I could find it. It's important to note that early exposure to sexual activity can have long-term effects on mental health. Journal of Adolescent Health, 2018. Particularly when it occurs before emotional maturity. The spiral of addiction. In my teenage years and 20s, sex became my escape, my coping mechanism, my way of feeling something, anything other than the emptiness inside. At first, it felt thrilling, new experiences, a sense of adventure, the rush of feeling desired and wanted. But soon, like any addiction, it spiraled out of control. I wasn't just seeking pleasure, I was chasing a connection I desperately needed but couldn't find. Addiction often stems from a deep sense of loneliness and an inability to process pain. American Addiction Centers, 2021. This understanding would come much later, but it helped explain why traditional therapy alone wasn't enough. I went through cycles of unstable relationships and meaningless encounters, each one leaving me feeling more hollow than the last. The pattern was painfully predictable. I'd break up with a partner, convinced they couldn't fulfill my needs, then binge on casual flings to numb the pain, only to desperately try to patch things up with my ex or jump into another relationship. Looking back, I see that I was terrified of being alone, yet equally afraid of real intimacy. This duality, needing connection but avoiding vulnerability, is a hallmark of love and sex addiction. Psychology Today, 2019, creating a perpetual cycle of seeking and avoiding genuine emotional bonds. The addiction affected every aspect of my life. Work suffered as I spent hours browsing dating apps or orchestrating encounters. Friendships faded as I prioritized my compulsive behavior over meaningful relationships. My financial stability took hits from impulsive decisions and risky behaviors. Most devastatingly, my sense of self-worth plummeted with each empty encounter, even as I convinced myself I was in control. The turning point. Things took a darker turn when I lost my first child. He passed away in my arms at just a few weeks old, a moment that shattered my world. The grief was unbearable, like drowning in an ocean with no shore in sight. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and my addiction escalated to levels I'd never experienced before. I'd go on what I now call sex binges, seeing multiple partners in a week, sometimes not even remembering their names or faces. It wasn't just about the physical act anymore. It was about numbing the pain, escaping the reality that my baby was gone. According to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, unresolved trauma often fuels compulsive behaviors, creating a vicious cycle of pain and self-destruction. During this dark period, my life became increasingly chaotic. I'd miss work, ignore friends' calls, and spend days in a fog of grief and compulsive behavior. Instead of processing my grief, I buried it under layers of sexual encounters and superficial relationships. I also realized how codependent I'd become, craving constant attention to feel okay about myself, but avoiding letting anyone get too close. This paradox left me empty and isolated, living in a world where I was surrounded by people, but never truly seen. It was during this time that I began attending support groups and therapy, steps that would eventually change my life, though I didn't know it then. Therapy was a game changer, though the journey wasn't linear. For the first time, I began to unravel the roots of my behavior. My therapist helped me understand that my addiction wasn't about sex at all. It was about trauma, attachment, and a desperate attempt to feel worthy of love. Group therapy sessions and having a sponsor made me feel less alone in my struggles. Hearing others share similar stories helped normalize my experiences while challenging my behaviors. One surprising discovery: when I tried periods of abstinence, my body and mind rebelled. I experienced flu-like symptoms and emotional turmoil that felt overwhelming. This phenomenon, often called withdrawal, isn't uncommon in behavioral addictions. Addiction Science and Clinical Practice, 2020. Understanding this helped me prepare for the physical and emotional challenges of recovery. I also learned to confront my inner critic, that harsh voice that had been my constant companion for decades. Self-talk is powerful, and I started practicing kindness toward myself, treating my wounds with compassion instead of judgment. How often do you speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a friend? This shift in self-dialogue became a cornerstone of my recovery. Meeting my current partner, David, was another turning point that challenged everything I thought I knew about relationships. For the first time, I experienced a stable, loving relationship built on mutual trust and understanding. Committing to one person brought up vulnerabilities I'd never faced, fears of abandonment, unworthiness, and the terror of being truly seen. But through open communication and mutual respect, and we've built something beautiful that I never thought possible for someone with my history. We took things slowly, allowing trust to build naturally. David's patience and understanding during my recovery process showed me what healthy love looks like. Compatibility, including sexual compatibility, is crucial in any relationship. Research supports this, showing that couples with aligned intimacy levels report higher relationship satisfaction. Journal of Marriage and Family, 2019. But true compatibility goes beyond physical intimacy. It's about emotional connection, shared values, and mutual support through life's challenges. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: addiction distracts us from our life's purpose, robbing us of precious time and energy that could be spent building meaningful connections and pursuing our dreams. Once I stopped using sex as a crutch, I discovered energy and clarity I didn't know I had. The fog lifted, revealing possibilities I'd been too numb to see. Today, I focus on being present for my family and pursuing my dreams with a clarity I never had during my addiction. Healing isn't about perfection. It's about progress, self-compassion, and choosing recovery one day at a time. You're stronger than you think, and healing is possible, even when it feels impossibly far away. Thank you for watching and allowing me to share my story. If you're struggling with similar issues, know that help is out there. Therapy, support groups, and faith can guide you toward healing. Remember that recovery isn't a straight line. It's a journey with ups and downs, but each step forward matters. Seeking help isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Whether you're dealing with addiction, trauma, or both, there are people and resources available to support you. I'll include links to reputable organizations and support groups in the description below. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and type yes in the comments. Your feedback helps us create content that resonates with you and reaches others who might be struggling. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can break the chains of addiction and step into the lives we're meant to live. Your past doesn't define your future, and it's never too late to start healing. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for being part of this community.